ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Donna Just Being Real. My channel is about dating, love, relationships, and toxic relationship advice channel. So we're going to get into this one here. And the topic is Dusty Lowlife Nathaniel Rowland trial. This is day 2. Bodycam and arrest. So let's talk about this Dusty Lowlife that you see right here. Okay, so this Dusty Lowlife, he basically posed that he was some sort of Uber driver, right? And unfortunately, she got in the car. She thought it was her Uber driver, but it wasn't. It was a Dusty Lowlife. And what he did to her was horrible. Yes. All right, so let me just give a little bit of description and make sure you read the description too. And also, don't forget, hit that like button. All right. Dusty Lowlife Nathaniel Rowland trial. And this one we're going to get into the body cam day too. So make sure you catch the other one that I did before with the opening statement, the prosecutor and the defense. All right. So this Dusty Lowlife Rowland, he's 27 years old, he might be a little bit older now, was found guilty for posing as an Uber driver and killed Samantha Josephson, 21. Samantha, a student at the University of South Carolina, got into a vehicle that she believed was an Uber in the early mornings of March 29th, 2019. She was found dead in Clarendon County the next day, stabbed more than 30 times. Yep, 30 times by this Dusty that you see right here. Yep, this Dusty. All right, so to everybody, welcome to my channel. My channel is about dating, love, relationships, and toxic relationship advice channel. And I use different things as teaching tools. I use crime stories. I use trials. I use articles, to help people to date smart and not thirsty and to be careful in the dating scene, the good and the bad and the ugly. And I also get into like people's personality disorders. I discuss like narcissism, sociopaths, psychopaths, and he's one of these people, okay, that we have to watch out for the signs. All right, so we're going to get into this one, and make sure you hit the like button, share it out to your social media, and also subscribe to my channel if you're into my commentary and check out some of my past commentary. Feel free to look at the playlist, and if you need to contact me, look in the description. You will find my email. You can email me, and we can go for there. If you have a viewer's request or you need coaching and dating, love, and relationships, or whatever it is, just feel free to contact me. All right, so we're going to get into this one. And also, I might pause now and then just to share my thoughts and opinions on this. And I also want to let you know, I will be doing this like a bit of a faster speed because so we can get through this trial. All right, so we can get through it. So I'm going to have other days I'm going to be showing more of it. So I'm going to show this whole trial. But right now, we're just focusing on day 2. And day 2 is with the body cam and the arrest. This is such a sad story. All she was doing was out with her friends, having a nice time, waiting for the Uber to pick her up so she can go home. And this piece of crap calls pulling up. He was basically just circling around looking for a victim. That's what he was doing. Yeah, all right, let's just watch the rest. Enough talking. Let's get it.
Rise and also be quiet. Rise and be quiet.
We believe it might be a matter to take up before we bring the jury back in.
All right, yes, sir.
Mr. Wilbur?
Sorry, no, you said you're understanding we're going to introduce body cam.
Your Honor, we understand that the prosecution intends to introduce body cam footage from their next witness, Officer Kraft from Columbia Police Department, and we would simply object to that as being hearsay.
All right, response by the state.
Your Honor, the state's response is that the body cam is not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It's being offered to provide the jury with what occurred, that it will show. Let me give the court some context. Apologies. The body cam will show, first there's a dash cam from Officer Kraft's patrol car, which shows him get in behind an Impala near 5 Points. The dash cam shows the traffic stop. It shows him getting out, approaching the vehicle, and then the driver of the vehicle, later identified as Mr. Rowland, taking off and running. There's body cam that is a separate video of Officer Kraft who initiated the stop. It starts shortly before he gets out of the vehicle. He approaches the vehicle. He speaks to Mr. Rowland. They have a brief exchange. Mr. Rowland takes off running. And then there's later portions of the body camera where Officer Kraft, who's unable to catch him, comes back to the vehicle, to the Impala, identifies the passenger, and then makes an initial search of the Impala, probable cause search, as he testified to in the pretrial hearing. And it shows that search. It shows the search of the driver's compartment, looking around with a flashlight in the back seat, and then in the trunk of the car until the officers ultimately decide that they should stop and not look any further until crime scene arrives. So the state is not offering that for the truth of the matter asserted of what anyone else is saying in the video or anything of that nature, but rather it's a present sense impression of what has occurred at the time, the actual events that occurred during the traffic stop. Additionally, Your Honor, it would be the state's position that this evidence is, the probative nature of this evidence is not outweighed by the danger of substantial danger of unfair prejudice, in that it goes towards showing how the initial investigation was conducted. In opening statement, the defense has raised this issue of crime scene processing and later testing and analysis of DNA and evidence collected. There was reference to DNA in the vehicle, things of that nature. So this would certainly be probative of the initial steps in the investigation that were done, who touched the car, who preserved the scene until others arrived to process it further. And we believe that that probative evidence is not substantially outweighed by any danger of prejudice.
What about his objection claiming it's hearsay?
Yes, sir, and that's what I would rest on what I said previously, that my understanding is that the hearsay objection would be about what others are saying. Certainly I believe that that what is being shown on the video that has any other people speaking is not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted of what they're saying.
What other people are speaking?
There's some other officers that are in the area. They have some brief interchanges with Officer Kraft, just about, I mean, there's a little radio traffic with like the license plate of the vehicle. Then when he gets back to the car after the chase, they have conversations about, or Kraft talks about, like, you know, what he's found. Oh, here's a little bit, here's these keys. He finds this phone, things of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, just look at him. No remorse, no nothing. This is how he sits through the whole trial. Just like this. Just like this. Just look at it. He disgusts me. Resume.
Response.
Your Honor, we would respectfully disagree with the prosecution. We believe the matter is being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. Officer Kraft is going to be here to testify. He has likely reviewed this footage prior to. There are multiple police officers that are communicating. We've got EMS chatter. There's a potential state's witness also being spoken to. The officer speaks regarding things he finds. Your Honor, he speaks about a phone and a woman's keys, especially the keychain being pink. Drawing conclusions that it might belong to a female, a dorm room. Your Honor, if the prosecution wishes to show the witness the video to refresh his recollection outside of the presence of the jury, I don't believe the defense is objecting.
Well, that's not the issue before me. What they want to, your objection is what's being showed,
Exactly,
proposed to be shown to the jury, not suggested.
Exactly, Your Honor.
What else you would look for them to do?
And from what we understand, I believe there are going to be separate clips that are being shown from piece to piece. And at this point, as far as contextual concern, I'm not sure what we're going to see, and that's our main worry about this being.
Because you don't know what you're going to see.
Exactly. Well, with the multiple levels of hearsay that might be present in any of the individual clips.
All right. Anything response by the state?
Well, just briefly, I would submit that the defense does know what we're about to see and that they have been provided these videos in full previously. I spoke to them just now during the break and advised them of what the clips are from the full videos that the state is prepared to play in front of the jury, so they know what it is. And while we're on the matter, you know, there are 2 additional officers from the Columbia Police Department who responded out that night who have different roles in the case that also have body cam that the state would intend to offer as well, that would follow this witness as well. So this issue is likely to come up again.
I think the issue is the audio of other people other than the testifying witness. That's the issue for me.
Well, then I suppose that one way that it could be done is, well, certainly the dash cam does not offer much in terms of other audio other than essentially him having radioed in what he's doing, that he's initiating the stop. I think there's a response that confirms like the license plate that he's called in, things of that nature. The body cam video, the initial encounter between him and the defendant is
Pause it for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit the like button because that helps out the content creator, and share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. And also feel free to check out some of my past commentary. I have awesome playlists. You check out my playlist, past commentary, anything you want. Just help yourself. Check out my past commentary. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to it.
captured. I don't believe there's any other persons involved in that. And of course, we would stand on it being statements by the defendant and that part of the video being an admission by a party opponent. And post Mr. Rowland leaving the scene or running from the scene and Officer Kraft returning to the car, yes, there is a lot of chatter with various people upon his return to the car. So if that's the court's concern, I believe we could offer up an attempt to allow the jury to see what's occurring without allowing them to hear the conversation. And that I do believe that they need to...
Yeah, the chatter among the various people that you refer to is the concern that I have.
Yes, sir, I understand. And that's why I'm suggesting that perhaps that a redaction of sorts to allow them to see Officer Kraft returning to the vehicle to conduct his initial review of the car without hearing what those other people are saying.
All right, I've overruled the objection with regard to the videos that's being offered, provided that the state establishes a sufficient foundation through the witnesses. I believe that under Rule 701, the officer's use of the videos would be helpful to a clear understanding of the witness's testimony. The portion dealing with chatter among other people, whoever they may be, other officers on the scene, would need to be, the volume would need to be reduced during that period, involving testimony of others or statements by others. But the officer's rendition and explaining what he's doing and what's going on is admissible.
Just want to make sure I'm clear with the ruling, Your Honor. The dash cam can be played as is. The encounter with the defendant as he approaches the vehicle can be played with the sound. But then when he comes back to the vehicle, as there's other officers around, no sound for that. But the video showing what he's done could be played.
Yes, sir.
My only logistical issue with that, Judge, is the disc that, as it currently stands with those videos on it, the state would offer into evidence, has not been redacted in such a way as to remove the sound. I'm afraid that might take
We have operators here to assist in with volume control, I'm sure.
Right. Sir, I'm sorry.
You have operators here that can assist with volume control, I'm sure.
Yes, sir, but I guess what I'm saying is that this disc would go to the jury, and we wouldn't be able to control the volume.
Well, you'd have to redact it prior to going to the jury.
So can I admit this in terms of the officer looks at it, says, yes, those are the videos I reviewed. We laid the foundation, offer it, it's admitted, but then submit a redacted version of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That will be reviewed by the court and,
Yes, sir.
and addressed by all concerned prior to it being submitted, as long as it's consistent with my ruling.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So to clarify, you mentioned that the audio will stay on in pursuit of the defendant from Officer Kraft. The defense still has a concern about the radio chatter during that pursuit. So we would just simply ask, as a modification to your ruling, to have that chatter redacted as well during the pursuit.
On what's contained in it, that's, you don't want the jury to hear.
Just more communication between officers, Your Honor. It would just be another level of hearsay.
All right. I overrule that objection. Now, I have a question by a juror, number 233. Can you get to the area where the body was found without passing the mini-mart? So, and that raises the larger question of jurors posing questions and how that should be handled in this case.
Your Honor, the state would ask the court to instruct the jurors to obviously withhold deliberation and consideration, et cetera, until they're instructed to do so, and to just remind them that there will be a time for that and that time is not upon us yet, so to speak.
All right, Ms. Bennett.
Please support. I think that the juror at number 233 should probably be questioned about what led up to that note being delivered to Your Honor.
Well, obviously what led up to it is her having the question in her mind following the testimony. I'm not going to ask her about that.
Well, I guess my concern, Your Honor, is that there's a potential that the jury is discussing the case. You've instructed them not to discuss the case while in the jury room. So my concern is that somebody is discussing this, and I think that out of the abundance of caution, we should find out if those discussions are happening.
No, that's not indicated by this question. I'll caution the jury that they're not to engage, as I have done continuously in the discussions of the case. But every juror has the reason they're on the jury is to use their mind in trying to understand the evidence. And this juror posed the question. The question I have for you all, do you want me to answer the question? Do you want jurors to be prompted to submit questions where they have questions? Or do you want me to instruct them that their role is to listen to the evidence and to deliberate with each other at the end of the case and not to submit questions to the court concerning the evidence?
Your Honor, I would request that you instruct the jury to listen to all the evidence and say deliberations to the completion of the case.
All right, Mr. Goldberg.
That's fine.
All right, let's bring the jury. The video that you're about to get into, is that the one that's been provided to me?
Yes, sir.
All right. The first one?
The first one is the dash cam, and the second one is the body cam.
All right. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. One juror has submitted a question to the court, and there's no uniform view of whether or not jurors should be permitted to submit questions during a trial. The more accepted view is that if the court were to start entertaining questions from jurors, in effect, it turns the trial into, from the lawyers presenting the case to the jurors, in effect, participating in the interrogation of witnesses. The better course, in my view, is that for the jury to not ask questions, for the jury to listen to the testimony. The reason you will have 12 parties deliberating, 12 jurors deliberating, is to collaboratively discuss the evidence in the case and ferret out what's important and what's not, what's believable and what's not. But the court will not entertain individual questions from the juror. Certainly, I understand and appreciate your focus, and that's why you're here. But just do not add to that submitting questions for the lawyers or for the court. In addition, I want to again caution you that you are to not discuss the case at all with each other or with anyone else at any point in time until I tell you that it's time to do so, which will be at the end of the case when you've heard all of the evidence and when you've heard the instructions of law. You may proceed with your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please record. The state calls Officer Jeffrey Kraft.
swear or affirm that the testimony about this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Will you have to state your full name to record?
Jeffrey Kraft.
Officer Kraft, good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you employed, sir?
City of Columbia Police Department.
How long have you worked there?
8 years.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about what your duties are with the department?
I'm a Master Police Officer and a K-9 handler assigned to the Special Operations Division currently. Pretty much respond to all K-9 service, calls for service, high-risk calls, major events that take place in the city, and assist patrol with anything that needs on the street.
Also, just from a logistical standpoint, you talk a little bit fast, so make sure you talk so that they can understand what you're saying, okay?
Yes, sir.
You said K-9?
K-9 handler.
What is that? What does that involve?
I have a K-9 assigned to me and respond to my dogs trained in tracking, apprehension, narcotic detection, and I assist the street whenever they need a K-9 assistance.
Okay. So back on March 29th of 2019, were you on patrol that evening?
I was.
What area were you charged with patrolling?
I was patrolling the Rosewood area in 5 months.
All right. And is that the ordinary area in which you patrol?
That was the area I was patrolling that night.
Okay. You said Rosewood?
Yes, Rosewood Drive and then the 5 months area.
Okay. I'm going to show you graphic here. If you could describe generally what this area is that we're looking at.
Hardman Street going into 5 points.
Okay.
That's the 5 points corridor.
This is Hardin Street here, the long road. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
And then this area up in here is what?
5 points.
5 points. Okay. You pretty familiar with that area?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, how's that?
Been patrolling that area for the past couple of years. And prior to being assigned a K-9 handler, 5 months was my patrol area.
Okay. Why were you tasked with patrolling in this general area on this particular occasion?
That's where the cell phone was last pinged in that area, and that's where Samantha Josephson was last seen.
What information did you have about Samantha Josephson and her situation on that evening?
That she got into a late models black Chevy Impala in front of Bird Dog, which is in 5 points. And then that was the last time she was seen or heard of through any source of communication.
And in fact, is that the bird dog there denoted by the red pin on the map?
That is?
Okay. You said that the information was that she had gotten into a black Impala
Yes, sir.
in front of the bird dog.
Yes, sir.
And that had been approximately when in relation to this evening? About 24 hours prior?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. You got that information by way of the BOLO that we've heard about that went out?
Yes, sir.
A BOLO is, what does that stand for?
Be on the lookout.
Okay, so what exactly were you looking for that night?
I was looking for a late models black Chevy Impala in that general area and or Samantha Josephson.
So at that particular occasion, to your knowledge, this is, so help me walk through it. This was, when you started your shift, was that Friday evening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and once you hit midnight, it crosses over into Saturday morning.
Correct.
And this traffic, the time that we're about to talk about where you got involved was about 2 a.m. that morning, correct? Saturday morning?
02:30, I believe.
Okay. And that would have been about 24 hours after Ms. Josephson got into the Impala, correct?
Correct.
Okay. It's a little confusing with the midnight.
No, I agree.
Okay. So it's Friday night, but it was really Saturday morning. early.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Were you the only one tasked with looking for her or the vehicle?
The whole city was. This email went to every police officer in the city, and of course, the on-duty officers in between calls. That was their primary task to try to see if they could find her.
And the first email had the BOLO attached, correct?
Correct.
Did you receive a second email from the department?
I did with the picture of the vehicle and a picture of Samantha Joseph.
Okay. And how long were you on patrol that night? When did you start on patrol?
6 o'clock at night.
6 o'clock at night, so at 6 o'clock Friday night?
Correct.
All right. And throughout your time patrolling that evening, did you encounter, let's say up until midnight, 1 o'clock, how many Impalas did you encounter?
None that matched the description.
Okay. And of course, did you see anyone who fit the description of Ms. Josephson?
I did not.
So let's take you to later that evening, or early morning hours, and talk about at what point did you actually encounter a black Chevy Impala?
On Hardman Street, approaching Blossom Street, going into 5 points.
All right. Where this white pin is that approximately where you got behind the Impala?
Yes, sir.
And that you said on Hardin Street, and headed in which direction?
Northbound into 5 points.
Into 5 points. Okay. What intersection is this?
Hardman Street and Blossom Street.
Okay. And what was your relation to the Impala at that point?
When I got behind him, he got into the turn left lane to turn up to Blossom Street.
Okay. And at this point where you're behind the Impala at Blossom and Hardin, approximately how far is it from there to the Bird Dog?
Like 2 blocks.
Okay. Do you agree with me that it's about 800 feet?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's close by.
Thank you. Describe what happened once the Impala began to turn left onto Blossom Street?
I activated my blue lights, being the vehicle matched the description of the bullet I received. Blue lights were initiated. He made a left onto Blossom Street, continued to travel down Blossom Street, and then made a left-hand turn onto Saluda Avenue, which is a one-way road, and he turned onto the street the wrong way.
Okay, so does this red line kind of denote the path that you all traveled?
Yes, sir, and he came to a complete stop on Saluda Avenue.
Now, when you say that Saluda Avenue, that he turned on the wrong way, can you describe Saluda Avenue, how it's set up in terms of the flow of traffic and medians?
Saluda Avenue is divided by a large grassy median with trees and bushes and stuff like that. It's very obvious, which way to travel you should travel. And he made the turn onto Saluda Avenue on the wrong way. He turned on the Saluda Avenue on oncoming traffic.
Essentially down a one-way street, is that
Correct,
right?
the wrong way.
So when we see this map here, you can kind of even see the median there, is that right?
Correct.
And so this side traffic should have been going this way.
Correct.
Right? But he traveled that way?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the pin there is approximately where the stop occurred?
Yes.
All right. At this point, do you have any knowledge about who's driving the vehicle?
I do not.
And ultimately, did you, were you able to make contact with the driver?
Yes, sir. I approached the vehicle on the driver's side.
Hold on one second. All right.
Your Honor, the defense would like to review their objection. Previously noted.
Yes, sir. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Kraft, I'm showing you what's been marked in the states. Exhibit number 9. Can you tell me what that is?
It's a DVD with my dash cam and body cam.
And have you had an opportunity to review those videos?
Yes, sir.
And the videos on this disc of your body cam and your dash cams fairly and accurately depict what occurred that evening?
Yes.
Your Honor, subject to previous discussions, the state would offer states number 9 in evidence. Thank you, Your Honor. And Officer Kraft, have you had an opportunity to review that there are some clips of that footage as well, correct?
Correct.
All right. And just at the first frame here, what does this appear to be a clip of?
The black late models Impala on Orange Street going into 5 points.
Is this your body cam or the dash cam?
Dash cam.
Okay, what is a dash cam? Can you describe that?
The camera mounted on my windshield of my patrol vehicle, and it gets activated or by me activating it, or it gets activated when I initiate the blue lights.
Okay, so in this instance, did you turn it on or did it come on?
It comes on automatically with the blue lights activation.
Okay, and does it have a kind of a backup feature where it catches the time before you turn it
It
on?
has a 1-minute preset.
So what does that mean?
It records 1 minute prior to me activating the blue lights or activating the dash cam.
In other words, from the moment you hit the blue light, it's not recording necessarily, but once you do that, it does pull the recording from the previous minute.
It does.
And so at this point in time when the video begins, you haven't blue lighted it yet, correct?
Correct.
Or blue lighted the vehicle.
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Have you blue lighted the vehicle yet?
No.
Okay, but the video turned on to what you just described, is that right?
Correct.
All right, thank you. All right, this time I'm going to publish the dash cam. And this intersection is which one?
That is Hardin Street and Blossom Street.
Is that the involved?
That is.
Can you describe this turn as we watch it?
He's trying to slow down as he makes a turn. You can see the one-way sign. He's going opposite direction of traffic. There's the median that divides the 2 lanes of traffic.
And the cars on the side of the road?
Correct. The parked cars will face the proper direction.
I'm going to stop it right here for a moment. and I'm going to ask you some questions. Who is that?
That's myself.
Okay. And as you approach the vehicle, for any vehicle, really for that matter, but specifically this one, what is your concern? What is your goal? What are you trying to do as you approach the vehicle?
Primary for me is officer safety, approach the vehicle in a safe, tactical manner. Make sure I'm observing what's inside the vehicle, who's inside the vehicle, and looking for any type of thing that can harm me in the beginning.
Okay. And did you make contact with the driver?
I did.
Okay. And initially, was the driver cooperative?
At first, he was very cooperative. He was slouched back in the back of the seat. His hood was over his head,
Okay.
but he was communicating with me and answering his questions.
Okay. And at some point, did you ask him to step out of the vehicle?
I did.
Okay. And once he got out of the vehicle, was he cooperative with you then?
At first, and then I asked, he asked why he got stopped, and I explained to him, I was about to explain to him why I got stopped, that the car matches the description, and I didn't even finish my sentence, and he took off running. He put his hand in his pockets and took off running.
What did you do when he took off running?
Initiated a foot chase, told him to stop multiple times, and then I lost him he ran towards Walkabout Avenue, and that's where I lost him.
You were unable to keep up with him?
Correct.
Okay. One moment. Okay. So as you described a moment ago, your initial encounter of the driver of the vehicle, I'm going to take you to the next slide on the PowerPoint. Just looking at the initial frame, what is this a video of?
This is my body camera. This is me sitting inside of the car for the traffic stop.
And that is part of State 29, correct?
Correct.
All right. Can you tell the jury what a body camera is?
It's a body camera we wear on duty, and any call for service or anytime we make contact with anyone in the public, we activate our body cameras.
And why do you do that?
Of course, for evidence or making encounters of people.
All right. And you indicated that when you approached the vehicle, that the driver was seated in a particular manner. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, his seat was reclined really, really back, so it's hard to see unless I get right in front of the window. And then he had his hood over his head.
What else did you observe on his head?
He had like a bandana wrapped around his forehead.
So before we get to it, I'm just going to ask you a couple more questions and then we'll play it. You said initially he was cooperative, right?
Correct.
You asked him some questions?
Correct.
What type of questions did you ask him?
Well, approaching the car, smelled strong odor of marijuana come from within the vehicle. So me, I was like, hey, who's been smoking the marijuana inside the car? He freely said he was earlier. And then I asked him, do you have any identification on you? He said he doesn't have any identification on him. At that point, that's when I asked him, can you step outside the car?
And he complied.
Correct.
And you indicated that you said something to him about why he pulled over, and that's when he took off. Is that right?
Yes.
What's going on, sir? You got a license? Got your license on you? I'm also credit. Call me, please, for K9. No, license on you. What up?
Is that the hoodie you were describing?
Yep, it is.
And then the bandana underneath?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, man. Who's smoking the marijuana?
I had smoked some earlier, sir, when I was at home.
All right, man. You got stuff on out, man. All right, here's the deal, man. I pulled your car over because it matches the suspect. Get your hand in your pocket. What are you, crazy? Get over here. Hey, get over here. Go, we're running. Hey, we're running the dog. I can't. I was just going to see those style. Bravo Mike wearing a gray sweatpants, gray sweatshirt. blocks of 500 block. Nunez, keep going. He's going to be on your left.
Sir, back around.
And the body cam goes on, correct?
Correct.
Where are you now in relation to your vehicle?
Like a 1 block down on Wacom Avenue.
Okay, so did you go down to see if the suspect had been detained, or did you go back to your vehicle?
I went back to the vehicle, because there was a passenger inside that vehicle.
Okay. And again, just going back to the map here, the white pin is approximately what, where the traffic stop was, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then what is the red pin generally?
Well, that's Congress Avenue. That's where he was apprehended.
That's where it is, okay. But you didn't go down there, correct?
No.
Okay, you went back to the car?
Correct.
When you went back to the car, without getting too far into particulars at this point, what did you do?
I made contact with the passenger and try to get identification, see what's going on, see if I can identify who just ran from me.
Okay. And at this point, again, you still didn't know who the driver was, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't know anything else about Ms. Josephson, correct?
Correct.
All right. So generally in a situation like this where there's a traffic stop, and specifically you said you smelled odor of marijuana, is that right?
That is correct.
So what would you then do in regards to that?
Search the vehicle for any source of or marijuana inside the car.
Okay. And did you in fact do that in this case?
I did.
Okay. And what did you find, if anything?
Found a little bit much of marijuana shake, just little pieces of marijuana on the driver's side floorboard.
Okay. What else did you find during the search of the vehicle?
A cell phone and a set of keys.
Can you describe the cell phone?
An iPhone, I think it was white or feminine color, and a set of keys with a pink keychain on it, or key ring on it.
Feminine color as in the, like the rose gold?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
And when you found those items, did you put it in pockets? What did you do with it?
I put them on top of the car.
On top of the Impala?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Did you then continue to look throughout the car a little bit additionally from there?
Yes, still looking for marijuana being, it was a strong odor. I didn't think the little bit of shake was going to be the source of the odor.
Okay. Did you look around a little bit in the back seat?
I did.
And was the trunk opened?
Yes, I opened the trunk open.
Did you actually go digging through the trunk and removing items? Or
No,
anything?
opened it, so we saw backed up.
Okay. In the light of the totality of the situation, why didn't you search the car more thoroughly at that point?
There's lots of evidence inside the car. There's obviously something severe took place inside the car that needed to be processed by professionals, our crime scene techs. So that's when we backed out. We wanted to preserve as much evidence as possible.
When you say it's obvious, I mean, what, if anything, did you observe?
Large quantities of blood, footprints on the window, cleaning supplies, bleach.
And again, why would you have not done that yourself as opposed to crime scene?
I am not a crime scene technician. We have people in our departments and other departments that are specialized that process those type of evidences.
Okay. And what are we looking at here?
That is the front passenger of the vehicle, the Chevy Impala.
And this is on stakes number 9 also? This is the body cam on stakes number 9, is that right?
Yes.
This would have been when in relation to the foot chase?
After the fact that he returned to the vehicle.
Okay. The female standing there at the front, where did she come from?
She was in the front passenger seat.
Was she there during the traffic stop?
She was.
And what was her name?
Benicia Wilson.
So can you describe what you're doing currently?
Right there, seeing if I can identify the driver and the person who just ran from me, and then at the same time looking for the marijuana inside the vehicle.
You testified you found some shake.
Correct.
And can you say again what that is?
Shake is pretty much the ground up bits of marijuana that they use to put in cigarettes or to smoke it.
And where did you locate that?
The floorboard, the driver's floorboard. pretty much where your feet would be.
Those are the keys you referenced?
Those are.
And we haven't gotten to it yet, but where was the cell phone, the rose gold cell phone you spoke about, where was that located?
In between the driver's seat and the center console, that little gap.
No. Ugh. What, they launch at 9 now? I'm serious. I think they launch at 9. I don't know. It must be. You know, when I'm up at 3 in the morning, they're still flying. It's not uncommon that I hear them just fly by. Yeah. What's he doing in there? Why? Getting out of Ford clothes? There you go. Follow him. Say, we're right behind you. Oh. I heard something on Wilshire Boulevard. I don't know about 5 in Wilshire. Well. I'm trying to hear it. It's on Wilshire. Whatever we were listening to, it's on Wilshire. 5 north on Riverside. Yep. That's the airship.
No, she has been found deceased.
Back force those.
No more questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
By the defense.
We could work.
Sir.
Morning, Officer Kraft. How are you
Morning.
doing?
Pretty good.
Well, thank you. Officer Kraft, you initiated the traffic stop on Nathaniel Rowland, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and Nathaniel Rowland, as we saw in the video, came to a stop at the light and used his blinker, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And prior to you turning on your blue lights or signaling him to stop, he had not committed a traffic infraction that you were aware of, correct?
At the time, correct.
Okay. So you saw the car put on the signal light, correct?
Correct.
You saw the car get into the turning lane, correct?
Correct.
Then that car turned left, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if you're driving down to Hardin, you have to continue straight to get to Bird Dog, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But this car turned left on Blossom Street, correct?
He did.
And if you were to continue down Blossom Street, you would eventually get to Assembly Street, correct?
Correct.
And when you pulled Mr. Rowland over, you questioned him about the marijuana he smelled, correct?
Correct.
Did you also question him about a cup of alcohol in his car?
No.
Did you see a cup of alcohol in his car?
No.
Nathaniel stated to you when you asked about the marijuana that he had smoked prior to you pulling him over, correct?
Correct.
Did he tell you where he had smoked?
No.
After Officer, are you familiar with Officer Nasia?
I am.
Am I pronouncing his name correctly?
You are.
After Officer Nasia gained control over Nathaniel, you went back to check over his car as seen in the video, correct?
Correct.
And in this case, when you were reviewing it, you saw Nathaniel Rowland had shake, loose marijuana that you testified typically is used in rolling cigarettes or blunts, something of that nature.
Correct.
And you also found an edible in his car, correct?
At the time, I believe so, yes, sir.
All right, an edible is simply just edible marijuana.
A treat infused with edible marijuana.
Okay. And at some point during your search, you also find an empty box that used to contain sandwich baggies, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and would you agree that in your experience as a law enforcement officer, when you find drugs and baggies together, that that's typical in dealing with narcotics?
Most of the time, correct.
Okay. One of his charges was actually simple possession of marijuana, correct?
Correct.
Beg the court's indulgence. No more questions. Thank you, officer.
Anything further?
Very briefly, Judge. When you were speaking with Mr. Rowland, you didn't ask him any questions about where the drugs came from or anything like that, right?
No.
You asked him about usage, correct?
Correct.
But not the origin?
Correct.
And when you asked him these questions at the outset, as we observed, he was compliant?
He was.
Did he appear to you to be coherent?
Yes.
Did he appear to you to understand the questions that were being asked of him?
He did.
And did he respond in a coherent manner to you?
He did.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything further? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next witness.
State calls Officer Nasia.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that testimony about this case to be the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You solemnly say your full name and address.
Justin Missio, Columbia Police Department.
Thank you. Right, please, court. Good morning, officer.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Can you tell the jury a little bit about yourself? Where do you work?
Sure. First off, Officer Missio, Columbia Police Department.
I need you to speak up.
Currently assigned to South Region Delta Squad Patrol as well as the Columbia SWAT Team.
And what do you do at Columbia Police Department?
Currently, while I'm on patrol, I take calls for service, assist in the community in any assistance that they need, and then as well as being on the SWAT team, which means that I serve high-profile warrants, assist with narcotics and violent offender arrests, as well as active scenes.
And what is the SWAT team?
SWAT team is Special Weapons and Tactics.
So I'm going to move you back to March of 2019. Was that your duties back then?
Back then, I was currently on the SWAT team. We weren't assigned anything with that. I was currently working patrol that night.
And what do you do as part of working patrol? What does that entail?
Taking calls for service, stopping vehicles, making traffic stops, keeping the public safe.
And where were you patrolling back on March 30th of 2019?
That night, I was assigned to the Old Shannon neighborhood, which borders 5 Points, as well as 5 Points itself.
And is that in Richland County?
It is.
And so, can you tell the jury what happened that involved you in this case back then?
Sure. That night, we were, while in between calls, looking for the suspect vehicle, that black and color Chevy Impala, and multiple officers were making traffic stops that night on black and color Chevy Impalas, attempting to locate the vehicle in question.
And I'm going to stop you. You said many officers were looking. What were you looking as well?
I was.
Did you see any?
I did, but at that point, by the time I saw them, other officers had already initiated traffic stops on vehicles, and I would just show up as a backup unit to make sure that everyone was safe. And then once we got the information we needed, we would clear up and we'd go back to patrol.
And so, any of the vehicles that you had contact with, were any of those bloody?
I never actually made contact with that vehicle.
Okay, so you never made contact with any Black Impalas yourself?
No.
So proceed on. I interrupted you. People were looking for Black Impalas.
Correct. I was just clearing up from backing up another officer on a traffic stop when Officer Kraft called out with the Black Impala that he was stopping on Saluda Avenue. At that point, I was on Gervais Street, and I started making my way there to back him up, which he was on Saluda. So I turned down Greg and was traveling down Greg Street. While en route,
I'm going to stop you because they talk kind of fast.
Sorry.
All right. So you said that a call went out. What does that mean when a call goes out?
Officer Kraft had put out that he was making a vehicle stop, put out the vehicle information and the location that he was initiating the stop at.
And is that abnormal or normal while you're on patrol?
That's normal procedure.
So you hear the call go out, so you are responding. Is that what I interrupted you?
I was going to back him up, correct?
Okay. Did you receive any other calls while you were going back?
I did not.
Okay. And where were you going? Where were you headed to?
I was heading initially to Saluda Ave, where Officer Kraft had pulled over that vehicle.
Okay. And did anything stop you from going to that address?
No.
Okay. So what happens as you're going towards Saluda Avenue?
As I'm going towards Saluda Avenue to back up Officer Kraft, he called out with foot pursuit and
I'm
started.
going to stop you. What's a foot pursuit?
It's when a suspect flees from police on foot and we give chase on foot.
So a call goes out that there needs to be a foot pursuit. So what do you do?
That's when I activated my blue lights and sirens and started making my way towards them. And at that point, while I was heading there, I was listening to the radio traffic and taking the directions that he was giving out, heading down Saluda Ave and turning onto Wakama to try and gauge where the suspect was fleeing so we can create a perimeter to apprehend the suspect.
And how familiar are you with this area? Because you're saying different roads. Do you travel this area every day?
Correct. Every day.
If you go on Wakama, for example, in a day.
At least once.
As you're proceeding,
As I'm proceeding, Officer Kraft, as well as the other officer that was chasing, were giving out locations as to where they were running, where the suspect was fleeing. And based off that information, I gauged where to try and intercept the foot pursuit as to cut off the suspect from running, which is when I headed down Blossom Street and turned onto Congaree Avenue. When I turned onto Congaree Avenue, that's when Mr. Rowland turned from Wakama onto Congaree, and I was able to make visual contact with him, which is when I exited my patrol vehicle and was able to safely detain him.
and you said you saw Mr. Rowland. Is he in a car or walking?
He was actually running.
And could you describe what he had on at the time?
He had on a light gray sweatshirt as well as a light gray pair of pants, and his hood was up.
And I'm going to show you a slide. Where this red pin is that what we're talking about? If this is, there's Wakama Avenue is here, Blossom Street is here, and Santee Avenue is in the middle.
Correct, and the red pin is the 500 block of Congaree Avenue.
And is that where you made contact with Mr. Rowland?
Correct.
And you stated, and I believe the jury's already heard, did you have a body cam on?
I did.
And when is your body cam activated?
Upon exiting my vehicle.
Your Honor, I would object to the evidence of this exhibit, based on your side.
That's the same objection I've already ruled on.
Yes, Your Honor. Or no, Your Honor, this is a separate body cam issue specifically for Officer Garcia for this witness.
Ms. Sampson.
Your Honor, it's our same responses we gave you earlier. We will mute anything as instructed.
The objection's overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to show you what the Marcus States Exhibit number 5 and ask if you recognize it.
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
This is my DV copy of my body cam footage.
And were you able to watch that earlier?
I was.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of your body cam from March 30th of 2019?
It is.
Been altered in any way?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 5 into evidence.
It's in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you see this okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Pay the court's bill. And is this what is this your body cam what we're watching?
It is.
And I know it's moving all around. Is that you?
That is.
Okay. Who is that you're handcuffing?
Nathaniel Rowland.
Why are you handcuffing?
Based off the knowledge I had, he was just a suspect that took all, that ran on foot and failed to stop for police command.
And is that the normal procedure to handcuff someone who's ran?
Correct, that is an arrestable offense.
And what are you doing at this point?
At that point, I'm frisking him for any weapons.
Did you find any?
No.
And whose patrol car is that was?
My patrol vehicle.
And who are these officers?
The one with the flashlight on the left is Officer Boyd, and the one on the right is Officer Bice.
And who is this black male?
Nathaniel Rowland.
And what are you all doing at this point?
At that point, we're evaluating him, making sure that he is okay, trying to gain information from him as to why he ran and the nature of the incident in and of itself.
And why are you checking to see if he's okay?
Because safety is our main concern and priority.
And was he okay?
He was.
Did he give you any indication that he wasn't okay?
He did say that he was sick. He stated that he had the flu and that he was having difficulty breathing. At that point, we notified EMS to come and evaluate him.
And did they come?
They did.
Did they have to take him to the hospital?
They did not.
What did they do?
Release him back into our custody.
At this point, what is he doing?
He requested to sit down. He said that he was having difficulty breathing.
And did you let him sit down?
I did, and I positioned him in the upright position to open up his diaphragm so that he can get more air.
Is that a normal procedure?
It is.
And we see, who is this with the light behind him?
Officer Nunez,
What is he doing?
currently Mirandizing him.
Is that a normal procedure?
It is.
And I'm going to pause it here. After he does that, did Mr. Rowland respond?
He would not answer any questions.
Yes, sir.
Did he respond to the reading of his rights?
Not verbally.
Thank you. After, what did you all do with him? Did you leave him at the car all night, or what happens at that point?
After he was evaluated by EMS and released into our custody, I notified my supervisor, who told me just to wait while they were getting ready to process the scene. At that point, we were notified that we can bring him over to the scene where he stood by in the vehicle.
And what if anything else, did you do?
After the apprehension, I stood by with him until he was transported to investigations.
And who transported him to investigations?
Myself.
What if any items did you recover off of the defendant?
I believe I recovered a cell phone and his cap that he had on his head.
I'm going to show you what's been marked in State's Exhibit number 7. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to open it for you. And you can look in it, and I'm going to ask you if you recognize it.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
That is 2 cell phones.
And can you look and tell me if one of those is the something that you recovered that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And does it look to be in the same condition as when you found it?
It does.
This time, Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 7 into evidence.
Any objection?
Only one phone was identified.
I'm only introducing the one.
Okay,
It's admitted without objection.
So this is the cell phone that you recovered on March 30th of 2019?
Correct.
And where did you recover this from?
That was in his pocket.
Now I'm going to show you another item. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 11. And before you show it anything, do you recognize the items?
I do.
What are they?
They are bandanas that he had on his head.
And have they been changed in any way?
No, ma'am.
This time we'd ask to introduce State Exhibit number 11 into evidence.
No objection.
Start with this item. Is this one of the bandanas that was recovered
Yes, ma'am.
with the $50 signs and $100 bill signs?
Correct.
And can you tell the jury, this was the other item?
Correct.
And what is this?
Um,
Is it called a do-rag or a head bandana?
yes, one of the terms.
And those were both recovered from the defendant that day?
Correct.
Ready for the bill. No further questions, please answer anything.
Those exhibits, were they marked by the court reporter?
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
Were the exhibits marked by the court reporter?
Not yet, I got to wrap them up, put them in the bag for her when we get out of break, Your Honor.
Is that satisfactory, or do you want to mark them at this time as they're presented?
I'd like to mark them as they are presented. I think, and I'm just. It's 7 anyway.
Okay.
It's fine.
Cross-examination.
Yes, sir. I may please report.
Yes, sir.
Officer Garcia, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Officer, as you testified, you're the one who actually gained control of Nathaniel during the early morning hours of March 29th.
That's correct.
That was around 2:15, 2:30?
Around 2:36.
2:36, okay. And you mentioned that you saw the officers, and so you decided to create a perimeter. And so, more or less, I believe you said it might have been a lefty turn that led you to cut him off?
That's correct.
Okay. And in the process of gaining control over him, you secured him on the ground. And with the assistance of another officer, you're able to pin him down to secure the handcuffs, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And at some point, you say that Nathaniel ran from the police, and Nathaniel's response was that he didn't know what y'all, the police, were going to do to me. Do you recall him saying that?
I do.
Now, at some point, Nathaniel, you mentioned earlier that as far as him being read his rights about his cooperation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and he was non-responsive.
He was non-responsive, just used his head a couple times to nod.
Okay. And at some point, EMS arrives, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and is that because Nathaniel was complaining about sustaining some sort of injury or having the flu?
He stated that he had the flu and that it was difficult to breathe.
Okay. And was he breathing heavily at that moment?
He was. He had just finished running.
Sure. And was Nathaniel cooperative with EMS?
He would not answer any of their questions.
But he was able, his vitals were taken, correct?
I do believe they were.
Okay. And did Nathaniel present as a coherent individual during that time?
He did.
Like the course of the orders. So Nathaniel Rowland took off on a foot chase, correct?
That's correct.
And he was pursued by several officers, correct?
Correct.
About how many blocks from his car to where he was ultimately apprehended did he run? Do you recall?
3 to 4 blocks.
3 or 4? Was he sweating at the time?
He was.
Okay. All right, that'll be all. Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
Need to redirect.
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. And your next witness.
Police Court State calls Officer James Nunez.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please have a seat, state your full name for the record.
My name is James Nunez.
Good morning, Officer Nunez.
Good morning, how are you?
Doing well, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Officer Nunez, where are you employed?
Columbia Police Department.
And how long have you worked there?
Approximately 4 years.
In what capacity are you employed with the Columbia
A
Police
patrol
Force?
officer with a patrol unit.
And which region are you assigned?
Southeast region. At the time, it was the South region.
Are you still assigned to the South region?
I am, yes. I'm on Alpha Squad, A Squad.
Please describe some of your duties as a road officer.
Just, which, as other officers stated, calls for service, traffic stops, assisting citizens with their safety needs, and just serving them whatever the needs they see fit.
I want to turn your attention to the early morning hours of March 30th of 2019. Were you on patrol at that time?
I was.
And what, if anything, happened that evening while you were on patrol?
I would respond to the respond to the scene and assist the citizens with whatever needs they have for us to assist them with.
Was there anything that occurred that night that required your assistance?
Other than, not to my knowledge, for any other calls for service, but Officer Kraft's traffic stop, yes.
I want to talk a little bit about Officer Kraft's traffic stop.
Okay.
What, if any, involvement did you have in that?
I was in the approximately, my apologies, about a half a mile away when he initiated the traffic stop, and then I started to head that way to assist. And then when I heard the foot chase was commencing, I turned my lights and sirens and headed that way to assist Officer Kraft and other officers on scene.
And when you say you heard that there was a foot chase, what do you mean by that?
My apologies, on our dispatch, through our radio, our in-car radio, I heard Officer Kraft call out the foot chase, and I went that way to help assist in the call.
In what area of Columbia was this?
This was on Saluda Avenue, close to 5 Points, approximately a quarter mile to half a mile from 5 Points.
Did you initiate your blue lights?
I believe so, yes.
And once you arrived at the scene, what happened?
When I arrived on the scene, I was going on Saluda, and then I observed Officer Kraft running on Waccamaw. And that's when I turned around to Waccamaw. I observed Officer Kraft. Signaling me to continue on for the suspect, Mr. Rowland. Thank you, my apologies.
Take your time.
I observed Officer Kraft flag me down, or not flag me down, but signal me to go forward. And that's where Officer Nisia and Officer Boyd detained Mr. Rowland, and I assisted with that as well.
When you say you were assisting, were you in your vehicle or were you on foot?
Yes, when I was driving my vehicle, and then I took a wrong turn on accident. I circled around to where Officer Nisia and Mr. Rowland were, and then I got out of my vehicle, exited my vehicle, turned my body camera, and then went to assist in whatever need they needed me to.
And was your body cam on and functioning that evening?
That's correct.
Yes,
As
that
I
morning?
exited the vehicle, it was operating and on.
Beg the court's indulgence, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness with what's been marked previously for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 8. Do you recognize that disc?
Yes, I do. My signature is on it.
And have you had a chance to review the contents of that disc?
I have.
And what is on that disc?
My body cam footage from the incident that night or in the early morning.
And do the contents of that disc fairly and accurately represent the body cam footage from your body camera of the early morning hours of March 30th of 2019?
It does.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would request that we enter into evidence what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 8.
Yes, Your Honor, I object based on the previous objections regarding body cam footage of the officers who just testified.
The objection's overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to publish to the jury? Who is this officer right here?
Officer Nicia.
And what is this right here?
It is my notepad I have on duty for important details and call information. On the top is a metal card with a Miranda warning we read to individuals who are being detained in major situations, calls, whatever.
And is that identification marker in the top left corner, is that your badge number?
It is 24979, that is mine.
Against the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, 376-374. Correction, 376-385 and 393. You're good, you're good. All right. All right. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to you represent you before any questioning. If you wish, you can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Do you understand each of these rights I explained to you? It's a yes or no answer.
Yeah, I know, you're tired after running, I get it.
Do you understand each of these rights I've explained to you? Yes or no?
You need an answer from me, man.
There was a brief pause in there after you initiated Miranda. Can you explain that?
At the time, I was listening to my lapel mic. I believe I had an earpiece in, and I was clarifying which units were on scene to our dispatch via the radio. And the numbers I gave out were our individual units that we were identified by the radio on.
And when you were Mirandizing the defendant, did he respond to you at all?
No verbal responses, no.
And during the course of that Miranda, was there anything preventing him from responding or speaking?
No, as you can see in the video, Officer Nicia is supporting him so he can sit up straight and breathe properly.
Back to course indulgence. Okay. Is this still your body cam?
It is,
Is that
yes.
still your badge number at the top left?
It is, yes, ma'am.
And who is this again?
This Officer Nicia standing up.
Yes, he's in right there now.
Did you dispatch EMS?
I'm not sure if I did, but yes, EMS was dispatched, yes.
And why is that?
To make sure Mr. Rowland was in good health and no major health concerns were presented at the time.
What?
What? Tired?
All right, so what's going on here?
Look at this lowlife just laying there like that. Piece of crap. Did that to that woman. Look at him. Piece of crap. See, there go to Dusty. Look at him. See Dusty? Dusty lowlife. Resume.
Appears that he was tired from running away from the police and trying to catch his breath And then right there, I did a sternum rub to alert his attention.
What is a sternum rub?
A sternum rub is when you use this technique police, medical professionals use. You use your knuckles right here to dig into your sternum to alert the individual, make sure he is conscious and breathing.
Is that common practice?
It is, yes.
At this point, is there anything restricting his ability to breathe or move?
No, ma'am.
And y'all are actually trying to help him
We are.
breathe better? So what's happening here?
We're attempting to set him up so he can have a better position for breathing, so his airway is not constricted. We do sit him on the curb.
And then again, what's happening here?
Trying to readjust him so he can have the best position to be comfortable as much as possible and breathe properly.
Can you explain what's going on here?
I'm approaching the EMS ambulance, the EMS technicians to explain to them the situation.
And by explaining the situation, what did you tell them?
Just the situation at hand, that he was involved in a foot pursuit with us. We just need them to check on his vitals, make sure he's in good health and medical condition.
And if you recall, what was the indication that you got which made you think that you might need EMS attention?
As he stated previously, he said he had the flu and he was breathing heavily and sweating quite a lot, so we just want to make sure that he was in good health before anything else occurred.
Is this something that would be done out of an abundance of caution?
Yes, and also and it is also standard procedure to make sure individuals we are encountered with are in good health if an investigation is to take place.
And who is this individual right here?
He is one of the EMS workers.
And what's happening here?
He's just chatting with or having a conversation with Mr. Rowland, try to get some information from him.
Was Mr. Rowland responsive at this point?
I do not believe so, no.
Was he cooperating with this EMS individual?
At this time, I do not believe he's talking to him.
Please describe what's happening here.
It appears that they're assisting him up to walk him towards the ambulance to get further medical attention.
And by him, you mean,
Mr. Rowland,
is he
right in the middle between the EMS worker and Officer Necia.
wearing the gray sweatpants?
That is correct, in the gray hoodie.
Is he being cooperative at this point?
It does not appear so. He's walking slowly. We need to assist him by his arms to get him to the ambulance.
And what do we see here?
He is seated at the edge of the ambulance in an upright position so they can further examine him and give him medical treatment if he desires.
Do you recall if he was responsive and cooperative at this point?
I do not believe he is responsive.
Officer Nunez, when I say not responsive here, what does that mean?
It means he's not responding to any questions pertinent to the medical treatment or the questions that the EMS is asking so they can treat him properly. As you can tell, he is breathing and moving.
Who is this?
He is the EMS, I believe he's the sergeant of the EMS ambulance at the time. As you can see, he has 3 stripes on his sleeve
And what's happening here?
Further medical evaluation of Mr. Rowland, trying to see if he needs EMS attention.
And at this point, to the best of your recollection, was Mr. Rowland cooperative in giving information to this EMS professional?
No, ma'am.
Officer Nunez, what's happening here?
I believe at the very beginning of this video, you observed the sergeant removing the blood pressure cuff from Mr. Rowland's arm, I believe, to measure his heart rate and such, to make sure he does not have any medical issues or things they need to know about at the time.
And did EMS have an adequate opportunity to check on Mr. Rowland's vitals and all that?
Yes, as you see right behind it, you see the monitor, and you did see him removing the blood pressure cuff, but he did not give him any information about himself.
Was there any indication that there was something wrong or that Mr. Rowland needed additional medical attention?
No, he was breathing in. He was breathing. No issues were presented at the time.
After that, what happened?
After that, once they got clearance from the ambulance, we got further word from our supervisor and more investigations. At that time, myself and Officer Nisia took him to our patrol car to have him sit there until further instructions.
And when you say when he was cleared, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is medical clearance by the EMS crew. He did not need or requested medical attention at the time.
And you got a call from, or an instruction from the supervisor that instructed you to take him into custody?
Yes, I believe myself or Officer Nisia were instructed just to place him in the back of our patrol vehicle until further.
And was he placed into custody at that point?
He was still, I can't speak on that, but at the moment he was placed into the vehicle until further.
Did you make any further attempts to speak with him after that?
I do not recall. I do not believe so.
I have both of them. Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
By the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please report. Afternoon, officer. How are you doing?
You want to hurt you, sir?
Doing well, thank you. Officer, you were not involved in actually pulling over Mr. Rowland.
That is correct.
And you were not involved in actually apprehending Mr. Rowland.
That is correct.
When he was close to you, or when you had an opportunity to be near him, did you smell an odor of marijuana?
I do not recall at the time.
Beg the court's indulgence. Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
Anything further? You may step down. Call your next witness. Stretch break.
Your Honor,
Yes. Call your next witness.
They call Travis Myers.
My name is Travis Myers. Good afternoon, Mr. Myers. Now, who are you currently employed with?
I was employed with Alvin's Convention Center.
Okay.
Stopped working about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so up until 2 weeks ago, you said you were with Alvin S. Glenn?
Yes, sir.
And what were your duties at Alvin S. Glenn?
I was a booking officer, working intake.
And when you say booking officer, can you explain what that means, please?
Yes, we would take over custody of detainees that would come in from other agencies who check the paperwork, get their property, do fingerprints, pictures, get the demographics.
And is that consistent with what people would call a correctional officer or a CO?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when I say Alvin S. Glenn, that's the detention center for what county?
Richmond County.
All right, so right here, Columbia area?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long had you been there?
7 years.
All right. So did you have any specific training that you received as a correctional officer?
Yes, sir. Pretty much. We got training to do the fingerprints and pictures, inventory on people's property, and another officer trained me before that.
All right. And so what would your role have been back in 2019 as a correctional officer at Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center?
Booking officer. I was working in intake in 2019, so I was working in what we call it a security part of intake, which is managing people coming in and out of intake area and doing the pictures and the fingerprints and making sure that everybody on the floor was in order.
Did you say that everybody in?
I'm sorry, when I say the floor in intake, we made sure that everything in intake was in order.
Gotcha. And when you say in order, can you tell the jury a little bit about what you mean by in order?
When I say in order, I mean we have to make sure that detainees weren't walking around, it wasn't too noisy, anything like that. And make sure they're sitting down and answering any questions that they had to they needed asked, and make sure that they were ready for court, the ones that were assigned to intake for bond court.
Yes, sir. So just on an average day, if a person was arrested and brought into Alvin S. Glenn, let's say just the average Joe would be this inmate's name, what would the general procedure be when they came through the door?
Okay. The arrest agency would bring them to our pre-booking area, which is located right next to our intake area. They would have a seat. We'll go out there, check the paperwork, make sure that the name is consistent throughout all the paperwork, make sure there's the right person, make sure the gender, make sure all the demographics, make sure everything was correct. I will confiscate any small property, which is like things like in your pockets, belts, jewelry, money, anything like that. Place in the bag, place in a small beige property bag. Take the paperwork that we check. Make sure put that with the small property. Bring them inside to the intake area. I would do a pat search, which is there was like a fish search, but we just call it pat search.
And let me stop you there for a second. So essentially, when they come through that door, you check the paperwork, make sure that person is who they say they are, correct?
Yes.
And you make sure that the agency who brought them in is giving you the proper paperwork.
Yes, sir.
Then from there, you said you essentially go and you're securing their property?
Yes, sir.
So any property that they may have had with them, you secure that?
Yes, sir.
Put it in a bag?
Yes, sir.
And place it, sign off on it and place it so that they'll have their property when they leave?
Yes, sir.
Am I correct about
Yes,
that?
sir.
All right. Then is there a point in time where, and I'm sorry, you said you kind of pat them down? And
Yeah, we pat them down, we search them, make sure they don't have any contraband, no weapons, nothing like that on them. Okay. And then once we search them, and we make sure there's no discrepancies or anything,
yes, sir.
We give the officers the okay, if they're good to go, they can continue doing their work out there in the field.
Okay. Now, is there a point in time when a person is fingerprinted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain a little bit about that fingerprint process.
Okay, with the fingerprints, what we would do is, it'd be done like before or after we do pictures, but we would do prints of their top part of the fingerprint slab, top part of the slab.
And so the top part, so you call that slap?
Yeah, slap, that's what it's called.
Slap
So,
on them?
yeah. Then we do the thumb slap.
Yes, sir.
And then we roll the thumbs, roll the first finger, middle finger, third finger, pinky finger, the palm, the bottom palm, do the slap again, and then we do the side of the palm.
And you do that
We do that for both left and right.
Yes, sir. Do it for both hands. And why do you do that?
Because we have to send that, anytime somebody comes in with a charge, we have to do fingerprints and pictures and send it over the slip.
Okay. And that's standard operating procedure?
Standard operating procedure.
Don't know any man or woman who comes in through the doors of Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center?
Yes, sir.
All right. And now you said you were working there back in March of 2019?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you have an occasion to meet a Nathaniel Rowland?
Yes, I did.
All right. And you talked about the procedure just a moment ago. Did you have an opportunity to take Mr. Rowland through that protocol, that procedure?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm showing the witness, which in Martin States, exhibit number 6 for ID purposes, sir. Take a look at that. Just take a look at it, familiarize yourself with it, please. Does that look familiar to you, Stacy, to number 6 for ID purposes?
Yes, sir.
All right, can you tell us what that is?
This is a fingerprint sheet. And anytime we get fingerprints that need to be printed out, they get printed on this fingerprint sheet.
Is that, and tell us, you talked about the slaps and all the things that you mentioned, those terms that you used.
Yes, sir.
Did you follow that procedure as you were able to take those fingerprints?
Yes, sir.
And who do those fingerprints and the slaps and all those things you talked about, who does that belong to?
Nathaniel Rowland.
All right. Did you actually do the printing and fill out the paperwork there?
Yes, sir.
How is it that we know that?
My name's on the documents.
Okay, you said your name?
My name is on the documents. It says who is the detainee fingerprint by. It says it. And my name is on here, sir.
Okay. Court's indulgence, Your Honor. All right, and may I have that?
Yes, sir.
And the person who you took those prints from, do you see that person in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. And can you point to the person who you took those prints from?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nathaniel Rowland, sitting right over there to my left.
And what is he wearing?
A red shirt.
Okay. Let the record reflect that the witnesses identified Mr. Rowland as the person who took those prints from. So all my questions at this time, Your Honor.
By the defense.
Questions for this witness, Your Honor?
All right, thank you, Mr. Myers. And your next witness.
State calls Brian Hudak.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about the case is the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please obviously state your full name and record.
Brian Keith Hudak, Hudak.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hudak.
Afternoon.
What's your profession?
I work for the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, otherwise known as SLED.
And how long have you been with SLED?
5 years and 9 months.
And prior to being with SLED, were you with any other police agencies?
I was with the Columbia Police Department from May of 2007 to October of 2015.
All right. And then you moved on to SLED after that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell us a little bit about how you got into law enforcement. Well, I'll tell you what, let's start first. Tell me about your education, then we'll move on to law enforcement.
I received a bachelor's degree in sociology with concentration in criminology from Winthrop University, and also attended University of South Carolina for 2 years in their master's program in sociology.
All right. And afterwards, you became a law enforcement officer?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you attend the Criminal Justice Academy?
I did.
Tell us about that experience.
I had 9 weeks of training at the Criminal Justice Academy, and then further training as in-field training with the Columbia Police Department.
When you were with Columbia Police Department, what was your role there?
I served as a patrol officer in the metro region for approximately 5 years, and then I was promoted to investigator and worked burglaries, and then moved into a special victims unit.
And what kind of work did you do in the special victims unit?
I investigated cases regarding criminal sexual conduct, missing persons, anything relating to juveniles, that sort of.
And did you have an occasion to begin to do any type of work with electronics, computers, things of that nature?
Yes, sir. I did start receiving some training in digital forensics, and also began processing cell phones at the time, examining cell phones.
And did you receive any training along that route?
Yes, sir. I took training with the National White Collar Crime Center. Took basic data recovery and analysis, intermediate data recovery and analysis. Also took introduction to cell phone investigations.
And after you left Columbia Police Department and moved on to South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, did you receive additional training?
Yes, I currently work in computer crimes, also, and I've received a more advanced training, Windows Artifacts, Apple iDevice. I've also attended classes at the National Computer Forensics Institute, basic investigation of computer and electronic crimes, network intrusion, I've also attended training from Burla Corporation for IV vehicle systems forensics.
And you said Burla Corporation. Can you tell me what Burla Corporation is?
Yeah, they are a corporation that has developed software and hardware that allows forensic examiners to extract and analyze data from vehicle infotainment centers.
What is a vehicle entertainment center?
It's basically, think of the touchscreen you see in the vehicle that you can sync your phone to, that you can control the radio, sometimes air conditioning, depending on the manufacturer of the vehicle. But it's basically a computer that runs that unit.
All right. And you've received specialized training in how to analyze those types of devices?
Yes, sir. Through the Burla Corporation, I'm also a certified vehicle systems forensic technician and a certified vehicle system engineer through Burla.
Do you possess any particular certifications with them based on the training that you just talked about?
Yeah, the certified vehicle systems forensic technician and the certified vehicle system examiner.
All right. Have you published any articles about, as it relates to any of this training that you've talked about?
Technically, it was written kind of before, but I did co-author an academic encyclopedia article in 2008 titled Internet Extortion and Information Security.
Have you ever been declared as an expert in digital forensics?
Yes, I have.
Okay. How many times?
3 times.
Have you testified in courts?
Yes.
Which courts have you testified in?
Greenwood County, Lawrence County, and Lexington County.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to offer Special Agent Hudak as an expert in digital forensics.
Your Honor, I just have one question to ask them. Investigator Hudak, you indicated you received specialized training from the Burla Corporation.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? And I have information here, I just don't have the date that you received that.
I believe it was September of 2016, maybe in 2017.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have. No objections, Your Honor.
And the field offered again, Ms. Gibson, is...
digital forensics, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this witness is an expert in the field of digital forensics. Ordinarily, a witness cannot offer opinions except under certain circumstances prescribed by our rules. Where a witness, however, by the virtue of their education and training and experience, witness has obtained specialized knowledge, they can offer opinions where lay witnesses cannot. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, in March of 2019, you were actually employed by the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you have an occasion to offer your assistance in the investigation of the murder of Samantha Josephson?
Yes, sir. I was called out in reference to processing a Chevy Impala that I believe Columbia Police Department had in custody at the time.
All right. And what was your role at that point in the investigation?
I responded and removed the HMI, which stands for Human Machine Interface module, from the Chevy Impala, which is the module that basically stores all the information collected by the infotainment center, runs the infotainment center.
And how is it that you would have retrieved that?
I had to go into the vehicle, and this module was actually located up kind of behind the glove box of the vehicle. So I removed a few pieces of trim and went and extracted the module from the vehicle.
All right, so you had to physically crawl into the car?
Yes, sir. I was laying on the passenger side floorboard the whole time.
Okay. As you did that, did you observe anything particular?
It was wet. There was a liquid I had to put down. I had a lab coat with me and some other items I kind of put down because I didn't know what it was at the time, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't laying in it.
Okay. And you said you had to retrieve this infotainment system. Would it be fair to say it's kind of like a black box?
Similar. I know the black boxes are different. This in particular is a black plastic box about that large.
Okay. And so I guess you have to climb on your back or something and try to get it?
Yeah, so that was the only way to get it. It was located up above and kind of behind the glove box, so the only way was that way.
All right. And as you were trying to gain access to it, did you observe anything as you were trying to take it out?
When I removed the trim and got to it, I have removed similar modules from other vehicles, and normally they're hard to get out. They were kind of wedged in there pretty good. This kind of, when I got to it, almost was very loose, almost basically fell out on me. It just kind of dropped down when I got to it.
Was that an indication of anything to you?
Indication that it didn't seem to be as secure in the vehicle, like as in other vehicles I've worked on. It could be potentially, I don't know, the condition of the vehicle. It could have previously been in a wreck. Maybe somebody had done some previous work to the vehicle and had to move it or remove it and maybe didn't put it back in securely. It wasn't as secure as the other ones I've processed.
But you were able to access it?
Yes.
Okay. Once you gained access to it, what did you do?
I took it back to our lab, logged it in as evidence, and I began trying to actually extract the data from it. And the way to do so is just open the black box, and there's a computer circuit board in it. And then I connect a circuit board provided by Burla as part of their toolkit and other devices to it, and then to a laptop to try to extract the data from the circuit board itself.
How long did it take you to initiate this process?
Once I started, I tried for several hours to be able to get an extraction.
Were you successful getting an extraction?
Unfortunately, no. I know I had made over 12 attempts. I honestly stopped counting after that long. It was, like I said, several hours, maybe 5, 6 hours I was attempting to retrieve data, and I kept receiving an error message in the software. Once the extraction, it would start, and then I would receive an error message, and it would stop.
Okay. And may not be the smartest question, but I'm asking anyway. What is an error message?
Yeah, just a message to the program. It was saying that I believe it couldn't read the eMMC memory, which is the embedded multimedia card memory. I believe that was the error message. But I was receiving an error message, and it just basically saying, hey, we can't read the memory. There's a good connection between the two boards, but we just can't pull anything from that chip.
Now, if you're able to pull to extract information from that infotainment system or an infotainment system of that type, what would you expect to find?
It depends on the manufacturer of the vehicle, because each manufacturer, there's no like standardized module, but for GM, some of the stuff I would expect to see would be any phones that have been connected via Bluetooth or USB, if USB is an option. If they did see possible contacts, call logs, possible text messages, vehicle location information, and possibly more, but again, varies based on the actual, not only manufacturer, but also version of the module.
All right. And that's what you'd expect from a GM?
Yes, sir.
And GM manufactures Chevrolet Impalas?
Yes.
All right. And so once you received this error message, did you do something additional to try to extract this information?
Yes, after unsuccessfully extracting it, I contacted investigator Jonathan Van Outen with the Columbia Police Department.
And after making contact with Mr. Van Outen, were you able to successfully extract information from this particular infotainment system?
Still no.
All right. So what did you do next?
I then contacted Burla, who's the manufacturer of all this software and hardware that we use, and contacted them, relayed to them the error message that I was receiving, and basically asked if they could provide any sort of additional help.
And were they able to provide any additional help?
They made sure, asked me a couple questions about one of the components I was trying to use to make sure the proper lights were coming on, which they were. And once I confirmed that, they offered that if we sent them the board, they could try to perform an extraction for us to try to get the data.
And did you send a board?
We did.
Okay, what happened next?
They then contacted me saying they were not able to perform get any data off the board. They believe it was some sort of memory error.
All right. And so after receiving that message, did you receive the box back?
We did.
Okay. Is there any, what if anything did you do next?
I reinstalled it back into the vehicle.
Okay. And so you were not able to extract information?
No, sir.
All right. But how many attempts did you make again to do that?
Over 12.
All right. And why did you make so many attempts?
Just because before in previous vehicles, because I have gotten successful extractions and unsuccessful ones from similar modules, sometimes it's kind of a delicate process. You're putting like these small copper pins on small copper pads, and sometimes they can slip off. So I wanted to make sure there wasn't any sort of user error on my part that was causing a bad connection, and just to try to, as much as I could, to actually get the data from the board.
And I didn't ask you this before, but I just want to make some things clear. When you had access to the car, did you have a search warrant?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And your work was done pursuant to that search warrant?
That's correct. Those are search warrants specifically for the infotainment center.
Okay. And the other agencies that participated in this were, again, named it?
SLED, Columbia Police, and Burla.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I have, so thank you for answering my questions.
By the defense.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. Your next witness.
Yeah, please support, Your Honor. State calls investigator James Fisher.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that testimony about you in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and nothing but the truth? Do you solemnly swear to affirm that?
Investigator James Fisher with Columbia Police Department.
What are you writing, Dusty? What could you possibly writing? This guy's insane. I'm so glad you off the street, you monster, you piece of crap, doing that to that girl. Resume.
Juror cannot view the TV when you're using it.
I would love to see what this monster's writing.
Good morning, Investigator Fisher.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Where are you employed?
Columbia Police Department
How long have you worked there?
for 22 years.
In what capacity are you employed with the Columbia Police Department?
I'm an investigator with the Special Victims Unit.
Can you briefly describe some of your duties day to day as an investigator?
I'm responsible for investigating sex-related crimes, domestic violence, crimes involving children and elder adults.
I want to draw your attention to late March and early April of 2019. Were you employed by the Columbia Police Department then?
I was.
And was that in the capacity of an investigator?
Yes.
The duties were the same back then?
Yes.
Were you involved with an investigation dealing with the kidnapping and murder of Samantha Josephson?
Yes.
How did you become involved with that investigation?
On April 1st, I got involved. Investigator Odom had recently told me that they had recovered the vehicle driven by the defendant, and inside the vehicle there was a receipt from the Wendy's at 6992 Garners Ferry Road, and they wanted to get a search warrant to go get video from the Wendy's to verify that the vehicle did come through that drive-through that day.
And did you go to that Wendy's?
I did. I typed a search warrant for the video, then went to the Wendy's and initiated the search warrant for the video and did retrieve video from the drive-through.
And was the video you collected pursuant to that lawful search warrant?
It was dated for March 29th, 2019, and the time on the receipt was 12:38 p.m.
And which Wendy's was that again?
6992 Garners Ferry Road is the one right here on the corner of Garners Ferry and Leesburg across from the VA hospital.
Beg the court's indulgence, Your Honor. Your Honor, this time I'm approaching the witness with what's been pre-marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 10. Investigator Fisher, do you recognize that disc I just handed you?
Yes.
And have you had an opportunity to review the contents of that disc?
Yes.
Are there any identification marks on that disc?
It's titled Wendy's Video.
Did you sign the envelope that contains the
Yes, and my
disc?
signature's on the back, yes, ma'am.
And do the contents of that disc fairly and accurately represent the video, the surveillance video that you obtained from the Wendy's on Garners Ferry?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, State moves to enter into evidence what's been previously marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 10.
Your Honor, we renew our previous objections to the search warrant.
The search warrant for the Wendy's video, or?
Yes, sir. All the search warrants marked for trial motion, we were just going to have to renew all of our objections for those
All
items.
right, objections overruled.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to publish?
Yes.
By the court's indulgence, yes. It is marked.
State's 10.
I'm so sick and tired of seeing him write. I want to see what he's writing.
From Wendy's?
Yes.
Do you see his timestamp on the video?
It appears to be 12:42.
What's the date?
It is March 29th of 2019.
What are we looking at here?
That's one of 2 camera angles that I got on that date. That one is inside the restaurant, right behind the cashier at the drive-thru window. And it appears that there's a gentleman at the window now getting his food.
And once you obtained this video footage, what did you do with it?
Once I got it, I made 2 copies. I made one for investigator Odom for a case file, and I placed the second one in our property room for storage.
Thank you, Investigator Fisher. No further questions from the state, Your Honor.
By the defense.
Your Honor, no questions.
All right. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll break for lunch now and resume at 2:15. Please do not addressing the jury. I'm speaking to the jury. We'll break now to 2:15. Please do not discuss the case. And we will be in recess till 2:15.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's all done. All right, so we're going to stay tuned for some more of, because we still on, what is this, part 2. So it's going to be more. And the next one is going to be when his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, whatever, you'll see that she's going to take the stand. So it'll be her. All right, so we're going to continue more on this one. Make sure you hit the like button. Share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Tell me what did you think. You know, this is really sad. This man really gets on my nerves. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you go. Don't forget, hit the like button, share it out. Feel free to check out some of my past commentary. Any one of them, check out my playlist. I'd love to know what you think. And go from there. Remember, date smart, not thirsty. And also be careful when you get in these Ubers. Be careful, because a lot of bad things be happening. Be careful. Make sure it's your Uber. You know the license plate. And let somebody else know that you're getting inside of an Uber too. Just in case. This poor woman fought for her life by the hands of a dusty lowlife by the name of Nathaniel Rowland. Stay tuned for some more of Donna Just Being Real. Uh-oh, where we at? Bye.